Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
It's you and the senorita. Whoop a blowing up the tweeter, cause it's me up in the speaker. Back in the mama seat, top down like a player. And the sound up in your ears, it is the dopest rhyme. Say I run a game like a cheater, I'm bomb like that.
So, I've never really heard this guy on the air before. I guess he's kind of a big deal in New York. And I want to make one thing crystal clear. I'm not throwing stones, and I'm not divesting anybody of their right to be emotional. We're all entitled to our feelings. And if there's an issue that it is worth being emotional about, loss of life is right up there. But there's this dude that's on in New York City. I think his name's Alton Sterling. And I've never heard him before, and I want to choose my words carefully here, because this clip has made its way around the internet in the wake of the shooting of Alton Sterling. And, well, I'll let you have a listen.
As an officer yourself, it looks bad, no?
You know, I will tell you that it's...
Well, can you say the words, it looks bad? I have to say this. This is the problem I have with police officers, and no disrespect to you. Y'all don't ever want to point at someone else and say, you can't do your job well. Right. I can tell you right now, if I heard a radio personality get on the air and do something irresponsible, I'd go, that's a bad radio personality. Yes. He does a bad job. Yes. Police officers never want to say when y'all do a bad job. So and that's the reason the public thinks all of you are bad. Because you won't ever call someone out and say they murdered someone. In cold blood, it happened again. And until you guys start taking responsibility for your own, people in the street are going to be upset instead. So how about y'all lead the movement instead? How about instead of people rioting, police officers get out in front of it themselves, and you guys are the first ones on the front lines? That's what should happen. Instead of you struggling to say, well, I don't know, it could be, they murdered that man. As an officer...
So, I mean, there you go. This is not an issue that is an easy one to understand or digest. I'm talking about this specific incident. I couldn't watch it. I myself could not watch the video. I was like, I can't watch a snuff movie. I couldn't do it. Couldn't bring myself to do it. But regardless of the situation, the one thing I realized in that or any other case like this is the fact that I wasn't there. I don't know. I was watching, unsurprisingly, a Mets game the other day, playing the Florida Marlins. And it was a case of, was the guy out? Was he not? Saw it from one angle, convinced he was out, wanted him to be out really badly, because it would have meant good things for the Mets. And then they did the instant replay a few different times from a few different angles. I was like, oh, in my heart of hearts, I don't know if he was. It really looked like he was from one side. But when you look at it in slow motion from that angle, I don't know. Can't say. It's a tough call. Now, I don't want to trivialize the loss of life. I don't want to trivialize the idea of racism and police brutality. Both of these things exist in the world, and both of them are problems. I don't want to trivialize these ideas. But what I do want to make crystal clear is that, yes, people have a right to be angry. Yes, people have a right to feel victimized. Yes, all of these things are valid. I know. I've been profiled for the way I look many a time. People see me, they automatically assume pothead. No one's ever pulled a gun on me because they thought I was a pothead. But I've been stopped, I've been searched, I've been all of these things. Which is not nearly as horrific as the idea of possibly losing your life because of the color of your skin. But what this guy in New York did, I think his name's Peter Rosenberg, that was wrong and kind of unforgivable. Well, we'll talk about it next. Thank you for hanging out.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace and that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say for you, there's gotta be a better way, yeah. And you do what they told ya, company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure before it's begun? Your life's already freaking over, yeah. I do what I want, when I want, how
So, if you're just joining us, there's a clip that's made its way around the internet several times. Radio personality in New York going off about the shooting of Alton Brown. And he takes a police officer that calls in to task over the fact that cops will not stand up and say, hey, this looks bad. This looks bad. We are standing up and taking a stand against this sort of thing. This man was murdered. And cops won't stand up and say this was a murder. Well, look, first and foremost, hats off to Peter Rosenberg for being awesome at his job. It's compelling stuff. You get chills listening to it. He's very impassioned. Good at what he does. But the problem I have with this, and this happens on either side of the equation. He was murdered in cold blood. He had a gun and he was resisting arrest. End of story. On both sides of the equation. You don't know. You weren't there. You just weren't there. You're not sure of the situation. Especially when something like this is so fresh. And like I said, I didn't watch the video. I might be convinced had I watched the video, but I was just like, I can't watch a snuff movie. I cannot do it. I cannot see someone's life ended in that way. Just no, will not do it. And people were like, hey, AD, you're going to have to talk about this stuff. Why don't you watch it? There's a phrase, and we've talked about this on this show in the past, but there's a phrase that you're going to hear me use that you won't hear anybody else in talk radio use. Or anybody else on the radio use, probably. And that is the phrase, I don't know. And it's a phrase a lot of people should get a lot more comfortable with. Because guess what? There's times where you don't. If you ever go to relationship counseling, the first thing they do to try and demonstrate the fact that there's more to this world than you is they hold up a tissue box between the two of you because you're going to be crying later. So there's one in the room, and they hold up a tissue box between the two of you, and they say, hey, look, this tissue box, can you describe it? Oh, well, my side has little flowers on it, and it says soothing wipes, lotion in it to stop your nose getting chapped or whatever the hell. Well, what does your side of the box say? Well, it's got a serial number on it, and there's a little seam going down it where the two pieces of cardboard are connected. You're both looking at the same tissue box, seeing completely different things, and that is Relationship Counseling 101. There are three sides to every story, I suppose. There's your side, the other person's side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. And people were like, how can you not watch that video? You're going to have to talk about it on the air. And I was like, I don't want to see someone lose their life in that way. And also, I know like the tissue box, like the baseball call, I'm not going to get the entirety of the story from it. I'm just not. And neither are you. And neither is this radio host. And neither is the cop that he is taking to task over this. And he asks, can you say it looks bad? Well, yeah, you can say it looks bad, but you don't know. You just don't know in these situations. I know that a man lost his life. I know that a man lost his life, and perhaps it wasn't necessary. I know that the police that were involved in this should be held to the highest standards of accountability that there are. But what I have a problem with is, look, it's a tough gig being a police officer, and this guy that called in, first and foremost, he was walking into the lion's den by calling into the show. If, in fact, he did call in. If it wasn't a call that was made to him for some reason. Don't know who he is, don't know how it was set up. Again, using the phrase, I don't know, is something that's going to get you closer to the truth. But putting this guy, who is a cop, one of the most difficult jobs on the face of the planet, in a position where he is being asked to speak out against another police officer and their actions without having all the facts, without knowing, without having been there himself, without having been a witness, is putting him in a really rough spot. And it's putting him in a spot where it's making all police officers look bad. And like I said, credit where credit is due to this guy who did it. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not taking anything away from what he said, his words. And also, I think he's on a music station. You know, he can be impassioned about this sort of stuff. He's not supposed to be a respected news source with a bunch of fact checkers. He's supposed to be a guy that is emotional. Audiences have an emotional connection to the people that they listen to. And that's part and parcel of it. So I'm not taking him to task for doing anything other than perhaps trivializing and simplifying a situation that needs every ounce of inspection and compassion that there is on the face of this planet available to it. We cannot gloss over facts. We must seek out the truth, and we must reserve judgment until we have the truth. And that's what we do on this show, find the truth.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. Well, it's a new one. Here I come again, coming again, taking it back to the place where I'm picking up the pen. And before I started, it's already a killer. When you know that you're good, I gotta say that it's a thriller. Hey, I do it my way.
Got a message from a guy called Nicholas who said, thank you for not trivializing the idea of police brutality. I used to be a cop. I work in the private sector now, but being a police officer was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do. Ultimately, the decisions I had to make, the positions I was asked to put myself in, made it something that I didn't want to continue doing with my life. But thank you for not jumping to conclusions on either side, because that's what people don't realize. You can't jump to conclusions in these situations. You don't know unless you were there, and oftentimes, even if you were there, you still don't know. Thank you, Nick, for that, and thank you for the time that you did serve and protect us in that way. But that's the thing. You just A, you just don't know, and B, when I first got to this country, and you know we have cops in England too, so I knew all about how to stay on the right side of the law. And bear in mind, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I won the genetic lottery. I'm an extremely white American male. you don't really get dealt a better hand than that in life in terms of being allowed to skate in some sorts of way. I am aware of the fact that coming from me, you're not really getting information on these subjects from a source that is 100% credible in terms of having lived through experiences. I've been stopped. I've been searched. People go, hey, that guy looks like a pothead. We're going to stop him. We're going to search him. Oh, he's got no drugs on him. Okay. And that's inconvenient. I don't care to be stopped and searched. I don't want to be stopped and searched. It prevents me from getting on with my day. It hasn't happened in a long time, and that's really nice. But, and I think it probably hasn't happened in a long time because, you know, people look at me and they assume pot, which is funny because I have absolutely no interest in smoking it whatsoever. I should be the legalization advocate because I can tell you all the reasons why marijuana should be legal. And I can do it from the perspective of someone that would never smoke it. I have no skin in the game. I can be completely objective with that stuff. So it's an inconvenience when that sort of thing happens. It's a little insulting sometimes. It's, not always done in the nicest sort of way. But one thing I've learned in that situation, when I first got to America and when we first headed out on the road, my tour manager said to me, hey, you have to realize that when we, as a bunch of punk rock looking guys in a band, get pulled over, and we will, and we did, wherever we are in America, it doesn't matter what you think your rights are. It doesn't matter what you think due process is. It doesn't matter what your lawyer is going to say 2 days from now. The police officer that stops you is literally the embodiment of the law standing in front of you. And you want to act accordingly. You might have rights. You might have every sort of recompense waiting in a couple of days when it turns out you've been treated unfairly after you spent 2 days in jail and you've gotten a lawyer and you've gone through all of that. But that cop sitting in front of you is literally the embodiment of the law, and what he says goes. So don't ever argue with a cop. Don't ever argue with a cop. And there's an expression that I learned when I got to Texas. And that expression is, you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. If a cop wants to arrest you, you go cooperatively, you go quietly. It might be unfair. You might have been judged unfairly. You might have been profiled. Your rights might have been violated. And guess what? In a couple of days, you might be able to flay that cop alive. He might have done, or she might have done something absolutely unspeakable, and you might be in every way, shape, or form entitled to get your pound of flesh back from them, back from the system. But at that moment, you're going to get in the police car, and you're going to go with them, and you're going to do it quietly if you know it's good for you. Because you can beat the rap, like I said, but you will never beat the ride. And it's something to bear in mind. And it's something to bear in mind when tensions are running unbelievably high in this country. It's something to bear in mind when there's a very good chance that people are going to act in a non-rational, emotional sort of way because of something that did not happen to them. And the thing that they are so angry about had nothing to do with the police officer standing in front of them. So bear that in mind. You can beat the rap, but you'll never beat the ride. All righty then. Let's talk what's going on in the world. Let's have a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. Guest read by our intern, Brandy Aniston.
Up,
Adult
baby?
Entertainment legend, Brandy Aniston. Where are you going? Where you're packed up to go where now?
I wish I was packed. I'm headed to Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
That sounds fun.
Don't give me a hard time. I know it's not fun. I mean, it's going to be awesome. Pittsburgh
It's okay.
is amazing.
This show's not on in Pennsylvania right now. The moment we pick up an affiliate in Philly.
I guess I should stop that email chain then. Don't send Philly today's
I'm
show.
going to be honest and tell you guys this. For appearances for me, Pennsylvania is actually one of my favorite states to appear in.
Why is that?
See?
But I will be honest, this time of year, it is, I can't breathe when I get off the plane because it's so
really muggy.
You can't, like, the first time I went to Reading, Pennsylvania, I remember like getting out into the air and I was just like, how do you live here? Like, it was like you couldn't breathe. There was no air. There was nothing. It was. Yeah, and I have a feeling it's going to be just as bad this time. So, it's okay though.
I been all over this great land of ours. As the song goes, I've been everywhere, man. I don't remember ever really having that great of a time in the state of Pennsylvania in general. Like, I have a checkered relationship with Philly. Like, when my band would play there, we would play, like, we played once, man, they hated us.
Really?
Like, it was one of those things where really absolutely no clue as to why. But like I went there and they like it was one of those situations where my tour manager's like, get the merch, get paid, let's get the hell out of here. We could have trouble waiting for us. And I was like, really? Okay. And it was just overall not good. And so next time we go back to Philly, I was like, this is gonna suck. Last time wasn't good. And our record label was like, no, they just kind of have to give you a hard time the first time they meet you. If you come back over, and then every single other time we played Philly, it was the greatest thing. Like when I first got there, I was like, that whole thing about this being the city of brotherly love, that's a crock. And then I went back a couple more times and I was just like, this is the greatest place on earth. This is the only other good time that I've had in Pennsylvania. Like, Philly was great eventually. Then like Hershey, Pennsylvania, the chocolate theme park and spa.
Okay, just stop yourself, because I'm a female. I'm over the age of 30. I almost just dated myself. Us women, we love our chocolate. So do tell, please.
You ever heard Funkhauser?
I've never even heard of it.
This seems like the sort of thing Funkhauser would go and do. I guess if it wasn't on the East Coast. Funkhauser, have you ever heard of the Hershey Spa Resort theme park?
He's packing up his car as we speak.
No, I haven't heard of it, but I want to go.
Hershey, Pennsylvania is where Hershey's chocolate is made, and there's a whole theme park based around it. But there's also a spa resort where like all the treatments are based in chocolate. Like I went there once on a vacation and like had a chocolate bath.
What made you go to Hershey, Pennsylvania for a vacation? I'm not that this is a bad place to go.
I honestly, I think it was like a Groupon or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like, like you want to do some weird, wild stuff that you never would try, get a stellar deal on it, and for 50% off, I'll give a chocolate bath a go. So, like,
if this is close enough to Pittsburgh, I am for sure hopping over to Hershey, Pennsylvania, because that just sounds amazing.
See, this is what you cannot do. You cannot resist being in the chocolate bath that which is, you cannot resist being in the chocolate bath and tasting it. Like I don't know. I talked to a couple of people. I'm like, did you taste it?
Sitting in your filth and tasting it too.
Yeah, sitting in your filth and tasting it too. And it tastes like really watered down hot chocolate, which I suppose is what it is. It's probably just like a bath with a little bit of cocoa powder in it, but it tastes sort of like watery, vaguely soapy hot chocolate
combined with saltiness from your skin. Ugh. I don't know.
I don't really have the sodium excretion problem you seem to be referring to. I've never really gone out. My main problem is I'm too salty.
Salty. I love baths, but I always have people like say things to me and say, you're just sitting in your own filth. Well, I'll sit in a bath all day long. I don't mind it. I mean, it's my filth. I'll sit in it.
Real classy. Why don't we just go to the story?
All right, let's do some news.
All right, guys. Kaylee Kuko had to apologize for posting a picture of her dog sitting on an American flag.
Yep. Yeah.
Why?
It's the girl from the Big Bang Theory, and, you're not supposed to let the flag touch the ground.
Oh,
if it does touch the ground, you're not supposed to let your dog put their butt all over it, I guess, is the idea.
But hold on a minute. Now, but it's okay for, like, if I can go there. Kris Jenner to wrap herself naked in an American flag and prance around in it. That's
a lot of people think that American flag clothing is disrespectful. Like you get some American flag shorts. Well, that shouldn't touch the ground and you shouldn't be sitting on it. You should be like, no, there's a lot of people I know that think that American flag clothing is in theory disrespectful in terms of, when you're a Cub Scout, how you're taught to handle the flag. Right. Well, your clothing is sort of, so yeah, no, it's can open worms everywhere on this one. And actually, Soldier messaged me when I posted something about this online, and he was just like, people need to calm down. As a soldier, I get it. This is maybe a little bit of ignorance on display, but it's not like she was being purposely and intentionally disrespectful to America on the 4th of July.
Right.
It might have been ignorant of some people's feelings, but we really do have larger problems in this country than the actress from Big Bang Theory allowing her dogs to sit on a flag. But basically, people are accusing her of doing to the flag what the Big Bang Theory has been doing to comedy for the last couple of seasons.
That's funny. No, I just saw the picture. And honestly, it's her dogs happy with little bandanas around their necks and everyone's happy. I'm sure she wasn't thinking that through. I mean, yeah. I personally would do something like that not thinking. I would have. I mean, you would not do it because you hated America. I would do it because I wanted to say Happy 4th of July to everybody. Yeah. I posted it. I mean, you should see the 4th of July picture I posted last year. It was just me in a tiny little 4th of July top. How is that not offensive?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, though that's fine. Yeah, see, I knew that was fine.
It's it's an interesting one for sure. But I can tell you one thing: she didn't on the 4th of July do anything other than think dogs, flags, America, right. Yay! Oh wow, what did I just do? Whoops! She wasn't maliciously going after America. So it was ignorance, not maliciousness. All right, what else?
All right, Ciara and Russell Wilson got married at a castle in England yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. I wonder if Future sent them a lot of nice little notes, because didn't they have a lot of issues with him throughout this?
Oh, you know about rap music. I don't know about rap music past the year 1998, really. I'm a golden age of hip-hop aficionado from 92 to 98. It all falls off after KRS-One's KRS-One album. That's when it sort of starts to suck. So I'm not familiar with a lot of these newfangled rappers.
I just know a lot. I know Ciara. I'm a huge fan of her, and I know that, I do actually like Future, and a lot of his songs are very directed at her. And I think, who knows? I don't think that he very much liked Russell Wilson much.
Well, Ciara made Russell Wilson hold out and not have sex. They vowed to not have sex until they were married. So we don't have to tell you what the something blue at the wedding was.
Days like this when I feel untouchable, I try and make up for all the wrongs I did by living my life like a Cosby kid, jamming on the one like Theo and Stevie. I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta believe.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me.
So I don't know about you, but next time I'm in Kentucky, which probably will not be for a while, I will be heading to the controversial Ark Encounter, the religious theme park created by creationist Ken Ham, purely out of curiosity. I have to see for myself.
I want to see the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs that are on the Ark, and not only the dinosaurs that are on the Ark, but, I want to see what $18 million of tax breaks looks like. I want to see what money taken out of every single dollar of everybody that has a job in Kentucky looks like when it goes to build an Ark full of dinosaurs. Anyways, man, there's big money to be made there, especially if you blanket it with a cloak of religion. You can get great tax breaks, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with that shortly after we roll through what remains of the news. Brandy Anderson, who you can tweet, by the way, at Brandy Anderson. Also tweet super producer to the stars Barry Funkhauser at FunkFM and me at ADSXE. Brandy Anderson, what's going on in the world?
We had a lot of cool tweets yesterday. I was pretty excited about it.
You guys are tweetists.
I guess so.
Tweetists.
Well, this is exciting. Marvel Comics will unveil a new Iron Man who's actually a black teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Woman.
Yeah. No, all these comic books are sort of launching, launching alternate realities in different universes where, like, Thor is now a girl, and I guess Iron Man's going to become a girl.
Okay.
First storyline involving stopping the abduction of black men by an evil group known as the Kardashians. She'll have an added.
Yeah.
She'll have an added superpower. She won't just have rocket launchers and repulsors. She'll also have the ability to throw super shade. Go on.
Fox and Friends host Gretchen Carlson is suing the CEO of Fox News, Roger Ailes, for sexual harassment.
Yeah. This is big news. This is very much inside baseball. Like if you're a broadcaster or if you're in the world of news, this is interesting times. Everyone wants to see how this one goes. But yeah, Gretchen Carlson, who is how long has she been the host of that show, Funkhauser? Like a long time, right?
Yeah. Since I was a wee funk, I remember. Long time.
And I think the sexual harassment suit, I think she's saying that whatever she's saying has been going on, has allegedly been going on for years and years. So yeah, Fox and Friends host Gretchen Carlson suing the CEO of Fox News, Roger Ailes. I guess he wanted her to host a new show, Fox and Friends with benefits. Go on.
Serena Williams was fined $10,000 for slamming her racket at Wimbledon. I would be fined all the time if I was a tennis player. All the time. I would be throwing rackets across the... I've got a short fuse. So I know that if I messed up at something as important as Wimbledon, it would be over for me. I'd be throwing rackets at people.
Yeah. I thought playing on grass was supposed to mellow you out.
Nope. Let's see.
So we all slowly shake our heads over here.
Right? Nope, grass didn't help.
Yeah, go on.
Tom Brady won't speak at the GOP convention.
Yeah, Tom Brady, really early in Trump's thing, in Trump's sort of run of being president of these United States of America and leader of the free world, Tom Brady was like, yeah, I like Trump. And people went, Tom Brady endorses Trump. And then I think he went, slow your roll. I didn't endorse him. I just said it might not be a bad idea, reserving judgment on this one. But I guess he's kind of become this Republican figurehead. A lot of people are expecting him to speak at the GOP convention. Now, not so much. Probably because Republicans not big on guys always nailing tight ends. Go on.
Not shocking. 2 Republican senators who were being vetted as Donald Trump's potential running mates have bowed out for consideration.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the problem with a lot of people. Is it possible to run without a vice president? Can he just be like, I'm enough for... I feel like he's going to stop at one point and be like, look, everyone, I'm enough for both. You don't need a vice president. You just need me.
Well, I mean, aside from Marco Rubio and a couple of others, Ted Cruz maybe.
Oh, gosh.
All of the presidential options presented on either side of the political fence in this election cycle were old, really, you have age-related concerns in this.
Right.
A lot of them are, what's the old Billy Connolly line? The president of the United States of America is at an age where we stopped giving my father the remote control to the television. And he's got his finger on the button that could fry us all. So it's there are real age-related concerns. How old's Trump? I know.
I would say he's in his late 50s, right?
Can you Google this? I want to be right about this, Funkhauser.
And you know what's interesting too is I don't know. I mean, what's he going to end up with? Chris
70.
Christie? He's 70?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to go there, but I'm going to say he looks pretty decent for being 70. I mean, I'm sure that the money and the plastic surgery and all that helps, but
I disavow. Okay.
My son asked me yesterday. He goes, "Mom, why is Donald Trump always so pink?"
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder He didn't pick up on the orange. I guess.
Well, yeah, he saw orangey pink. Like
orangey pink. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, Mom, why is he funny colors?
I guess the area around like the eyes where like you're not supposed to like fake tan around your eyes, right? I'm not a fake tan aficionado, but
yeah.
It looks like he stops when he gets to his eyelids, and so I mean, who knows? But he is. You're right. That part of him is very sort of like pink,
Oompa Loompa-ish.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't care who the president is and whether or not I agree with a thing that they have to say. The idea that they could be pushing 80, like he's going to be 70 if he gets elected. I don't know when his birthday is, but he's going to be like 79 by the time his term is done, and that's it's really old, to be doing some stuff like it's. I never had this happen before, but a friend of mine that I grew up with, I ran into his dad a little while ago, and his father was exactly the same person, but just a bit slower. He had to repeat himself a lot, and you had to repeat yourself a lot. Same person, and he was like 68. He was like, I'm really starting to slow down. I'm 68. I was like, hey, still significantly more of a spring chicken than our options for president.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Got a tweet from the homie Scott Briscoe, who said political correctness even made it to comic books. It's a millennial thing. It's an interesting one because, my kid's sister works in the world of comic books, and this is an industry where the vast majority of women look like, if you read comics, the vast majority of women look like Dolly Parton in Zero Gravity. Like it's an interesting one that has, I think, certainly objectified women. And look, to counter that claim, I would say that the representations of men in comic books are not the most accurate and do kind of set a ridiculously muscular standard. I remember I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was a kid. What was interesting is that's exactly what my sister wound up doing. She wound up working in comic books, but I had this book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And I studied this thing, and they specifically said, okay, this is how many heads tall your average human being is when you're studying proportions and when you're studying how to draw the human figure in art class. There's certain things. Like, what's really weird is your eyes are right in the middle of your head. And you wouldn't think that to look at yourself in the mirror. You'd think they're closer to the top. But if you draw a human head, divide it exactly in half, that is where the eyes go. Divide the area between the eyes and the chin in half again, that is where your nose ends. Divide the area between the end of the nose and the chin in half, and that is where your mouth is. We are incredibly mathematically designed. And the people that are not in keeping with those proportions are the folks that are genetic anomalies. Your Michael Phelpses of the world who have these not normal bodies that allow them to do crazy things like swim really fast. But the idea of comic books being PC is an interesting one for sure because, hey, a black female Iron Man. Well, black females haven't been able to read comic books and see too much of themselves represented for the last, better part of 100 years. So it makes sense that, you want to be inclusive in that way. Why? Because there's money to be made off of it. I don't think that if it was bad for business having a black female Iron Man, Marvel, as much as they want to come across as being all touchy-feely for making that happen, I don't think they'd be doing it. If they could keep drinking at the same trough forever and ever and ever on men, they would continue doing that because change is annoying and painful and hard and usually costly, but you got to change to keep up and compete, and there you go. So there it is. But what was interesting to me is I grew up reading comic books and be like, when am I going to start looking like Spider-Man in the mirror? When do those muscles start appearing? And what I realized, how come I can't put on my long johns and look like that? It's just and as a kid, I don't think I really had. Hold on a second. Why am I hearing myself echo? I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit.
What?
There's like headphone bleed or something like that. It's driving me nuts. Put the news bed back on. That makes it go away.
What happened?
Turn that one down right there. That one there. Turn that one down. Yeah, that should be better now. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I could read. Let me take you back here. Hold on. Let me go back in time and.
But what's interesting about comic books? It's a little better. What's interesting about comic books is like, I used to sit in front of the mirror being like, Spider-Man looks like that. Clearly, I'm going to look like that pretty soon. I'm going to be ripped, toned, muscular, and vascular in no time flat once I hit the age of 12. And then I got this book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And I'm glad I did. Not that I've ever had any real sort of like body image problems, but the way comic book figures are represented, like all the women, like I said, look like Dolly Parton in Zero Gravity, and all the men are unbelievably muscular and able to do these superhuman feats. And then I got this book, and what was interesting about it was they're like, okay, a normal human being, like if you went to a normal art class, a normal human being is this many heads high, and they are, this many heads broad. You measure pretty much the human proportions via the head, and they're like, but this is what we do to make our heroes look more super. We make them more heads tall than the average human being is. We make their hands and their feet bigger because that gives an idea of power. And like the David has big hands and big feet because that implies power. The David, I believe, is a little bit disproportionate because he wanted to. The David was supposed to represent a hero. So these are not realistic representations of human beings in comic books, and nor were they ever intended to be. And on the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I get annoyed when reality pushes its way into the world of fantasy, because that's what it's supposed to be, fantasy and escapism. But ultimately, people that haven't seen themselves represented in comic books want to, and I think that's kind of a cool thing. I think that's cool of Marvel to do it. I'm not under the impression that they would be doing it if they didn't think they were losing money by not doing it. But nevertheless, it happened, and therefore, I think that's awesome. I think it's cool that a black girl can open up a comic book and see herself as a superhero in a way that she wasn't able to for years and years and years. Anyways, let's roll through what remains of the news, and then we'll talk about the Ark Entertainment, the Ark Amusement Park.
Yesterday, Hillary Clinton hammered Donald Trump over his company's many bankruptcies.
Yeah, and I think we can expect Donald Trump to hit back over her many moral bankruptcies. Go on.
Yesterday was International Kissing Day. Who'd you kiss?
I didn't. Well, Milhouse.
I was going to say Milhouse.
Milhouse the puppy got his customary smooch on the nose before I went off to work. So yeah, but
was it everything you hoped for and more?
I still get really angry every single day when I got to do it, because like I used to be able to bring my dog to work every single day, and then these two upper management types, one of them brought a dog to work, and that dog took a dump in some other upper management type's office. And because these two men that are a good 15 to 20 years older than me couldn't come to an agreement, it went further up the food chain. It incurred expense, and therefore, because it incurred expense, and these two guys that are beating the crap out of their 50s or whatever the hell it is couldn't figure things out between the two of them, we are now a dog-free office, and it just it drives me nuts. So as I say goodbye to Milhouse every single morning, I see him sitting there in his kennel, I'm just like, oh, this is the worst. This is the absolute worst. And if those two chuckleheads were able to act like adults, I wouldn't have to do this every single day. It makes me so mad. But yeah, anyways, the other day, International Kissing Day, which explains why the top WebMD search this morning was, what's the cure for oral herpes? Go on.
There's going to be a kale eating contest at an upcoming food festival.
Funkhauser?
He's in line.
What?
How do you think you would do in a kale eating competition?
Oh man, that stuff's so hard to eat.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that Yeah.
Oh.
See what he admits when the vegan girlfriend isn't around? He's like, that stuff's tough to eat.
Can I drench it in Italian dressing?
Yeah, if you put enough other stuff on it, it
2,000
tastes
calories
different.
worth of gunk.
Yeah. Ugh. Anybody all right? Hands up. Who actually likes kale?
Yeah,
I do. I like kale.
I like to grow it.
I really enjoy my salads, and honestly, I mix kale, spinach, and everything all together. So I don't mind it.
You mix it all together.
Yeah, and then
like,
no, I use it in my smoothies with my fruit too. It's really good. You don't taste the kale. If I were to make you one of my smoothies, you wouldn't even taste it.
Well, that's just the point. To consume kale, you got to put enough stuff around it so you don't taste it. Like, you want some of this kale smoothie? You don't even taste the kale. This is not a ringing endorsement for kale.
It doesn't taste bad, though. It tastes like a lettuce.
I don't know. I had a kale salad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I had a kale salad a little while ago, and I was like, all right, this is that stuff that everybody's so into. This is supposed to be really good for you. This is stuff you're supposed to consume on a daily basis. It's going to extend your life. The adult diaper wearing years, you're going to have more of them if you eat kale. So yum, 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 let's eat up. And I tried it. I was like, can't believe this must be what evil tastes like. Anyways. Yeah, I tell you where and when this kale eating contest was going to be, but let's be real here. You don't care. Go on.
A study found that people have the most sex in the month of July.
So the 4th, not the only day when intense numbers of bangs happen. Go on.
Police in Nashville found a burglary suspect in bed with a mannequin dressed in lingerie that he had stolen from the lingerie store. Wow, that was a mouthful. But that's definitely a sight to see.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have...
Give me a moment. My girlfriend and me are having a moment. Give me a second.
If you want to have an intimate relationship with something cold, mechanical, and unfeeling, it's easier way to do it. Just get married and wait a year, I think. Go on.
Does it even need to be a year? A new study says eating pasta helps you lose weight. Eating pasta helps you lose weight.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on the show.
I got excited because I was like, is this new? What? Wait,
yeah,
what?
For me, it's not so much because I think pasta is nutritionally, anything different than it used to be. It's just like, for me, most of it seems to end up on my shirt or on my shorts than in my gaping cavernous gullet. But like, I think the thing, all right, so real talk here, as the kids say. The reason they're saying that pasta is good for you is because a lot of people that eat it, like if you look at it internationally, the people that eat the most pasta are folks in the Mediterranean. And they eat like this thing that's called the Mediterranean diet, which is pasta, and fish and lots of vegetables. And, these things, when you don't just sort of when you're not just constantly gorging yourself on Stouffer's lasagna and mac and cheese, when it's actually sort of part of this balanced diet, those people that eat the Mediterranean diet, which is like fish, olive oil, and unprocessed foods, they live longer, they're healthier, they, don't eat in excess because they're eating enough of a variety of things to where they get full based on a sensible amount of food. So I was looking forward to scarfing down 8 portions of baked ziti every single day when I found this out, and the grim reality is it's got to be as part of this balanced diet, which is disappointing. But it sounds like you two, what with your kale growing Funkhauser and your making of smoothies and salads, Brandy, could probably benefit from this a little bit.
We'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be really
How much time do we have left, Funkhauser?
72 seconds.
Really? That's it?
That's it.
All right, so there's a creationism museum started by creationist Ken Ham, who was the guy that debated Bill Nye on that internet, the creationist versus science debate. He's got this thing called the Ark Encounter, which is a humongous... It's a humongous revisitation of what the Ark is supposed to be, like realistic. He's saying, this is it. Now, I'm not arrogant enough to say that I know. Oh, again, it's like the police brutality thing. Were you there? No. So you probably don't know. I search spiritually. Not all that hard, but nevertheless, I like to be open-minded, and I certainly would never, ever trample all over anybody else's beliefs. The problem I have with this is that it's received $18 million in tax incentives, which means $18 million of taxpayer money has been taken out of the pocket of the government and funneled into an amusement park, which is, make no mistake about it, for profit. Not only that, but they have what some people are calling discriminatory hiring practices, meaning you can't work for them unless you believe what they believe, and that shouldn't entitle you to $18 million of taxpayer money. The end.
Sometimes you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it.